A special segment for you on WATD as we're going to hear from Christine James right now in this special feature that we're very excited to bring to you on WATD. So much of the story of our nation gaining independence happened here in and around the greater Boston area. And many towns on the South Shore were very invested in the fight for freedom. WATD's Christine James reports.
Benjamin Bailey, Caleb Bailey, Barnabas Barker, Nathaniel Barstow. The American Revolutionary War began in 1775, with much of the story centered on well-known events in Lexington and Concord. But many other local towns began to get ready to fight for their freedom, like Norwell and Scituate, when it was just one town, Scituate.
Well, I think in history, when we took history class in high school or in college, there was a limited time space that they had to teach a big span of history. Mm-hmm. So I think the battles of Lexington and Concord really focused on Lexington and Concord and then the Revolutionary War as a whole. And we forget that the history was also happening here in Old Scituate.
Norwell's Wendy Bawabi wrote a play about that time in history, based on a book by Scituate historian and author Jim Glinsky, which was based on a diary of a 24-year-old soldier, Israel Litchfield.
He was in his early 20s, Sergeant Israel Litchfield, one of the many, many, many Litchfields in Scituate.
Yes.
And he wrote a unique diary from November 1774 all the way through 1775. And a lot of it was not about the war, but what's particularly interesting for us is that during this crisis period after Lexington and Concord, we get a day-to-day description from him of what the militia were doing in Scituate and Marshfield, which is very unique. It's one of the very few diaries that we have at that time.
The play takes place during a fictional Old Scituate town meeting.
Much needed, I say.
Yes.
Shutting down the Port of Boston, limiting our town meetings, removing our colonial courts, quartering British troops in Boston and in nearby Marshfield. This is intolerable, and it will not stand.
I like the way that we talked a little bit also about nuances, and it's not just going to be only about men and stories about men. It's about other people who were also around at the time who may not have gotten a voice then, but they have a voice now.
Yeah, I feel it's really important to give all those points of view. I think we assume that everybody in 1775 was a patriot. They were all on board, but it was a difficult decision to make. You were basically committing treason, and there were a lot of people that felt it was just easier to kind of go with the flow. And we try to represent all those voices in the play. We do have Tories, which are loyalists, and then we also have a number of patriots, obviously, but then the other voices we're expressing, so it is a mock, we're a fictional town meeting, and obviously in 1775 women would not have been able to speak up at a town meeting, but we have two women who express their own viewpoints. I think it's great that you're a patriot, husband, but you're going to leave me at home with my 8 children under the age of 6 and my farm, and as you go off and fight.
Patience, you are my cousin, and we will stand together in strength if our men must go. I recall my mother's wisdom when I first wed. The rooster crows, but the hen delivers. If our men must go, then we women will keep the home fires burning. I must quote another woman, Abigail Adams, wife of Quincy's John Adams. Great necessities call out great virtues. If a battle is necessary, the virtues of Scituate women will be great.
We also have a black man who speaks up. Again, wouldn't have happened at an actual town meeting in 1775, but he questions the definition of freedom.
I can only hope that this defense of freedom will also include the black residents of Scituate. We have this in common with all other men, a natural and unalienable right to freedom, which has been bestowed by the Almighty equally to all mankind.
Here in Marshfield, where the station is, this was kind of a Tory stronghold.
Yep, Marshfield had that reputation, and they did have 77 of their citizens put on a banishment list that if they ever came back to Marshfield or the state of Massachusetts, if after they were essentially booted out and some of them went with the British up to Nova Scotia, that they would be arrested, and if they came back a second time, they'd be executed.
In some situations, the cause divided families.
Cousin, you have family, but I will have no family, no neighbors, no fellow citizens, as long as the present situation continues. Fellow town folks, you know my name, Samuel Stockbridge of Mount Blue. I'm a captain in the Scituate militia. I am indeed a cousin of the good doctor here, but I and my wife, Sarah Litchfield Stockbridge, are devoted to this cause.
Well, they got organized very early, and I just assumed that they had a devoted crew of people. They had a militia for a long time. They were actually on the training field when they got news from a postwriter, the Battle of Lexington and Concord. So they were just abandoning their training for the day and coming back home, so that our event takes place on the next day, the day after Lexington and Concord.
My name is Joshua Otis, and as you know, my farm is but a stone's throw from the harbor. Your best vantage will be from Third Cliff in Cedar Point. Your men can quarter at my home so as to keep watch both day and night.
This is an excellent plan. Otis, your offer is most valuable. But isn't your wife a child?
Aye, sir, she is. And my Mary has professed that if it is a boy, she shall name him George for the king. But I declare now, if this king does not restore our rights, I will indeed name him George Washington Otis.
The play Old Scituate Reacts was recorded live in Norwell and Scituate churches. Reporting from Old Scituate, Christine James, WATD News. Abednego Wade, Stephen Wade, Anthony Waterman, Thomas Webb, Nathaniel Winslow, Benjamin Woodworth.
The play Old Scituate Reacts was produced by the Norwell and Scituate Historical Societies, audio courtesy of Norwell Spotlight TV Harbor Media. To view the play, go to norwellspotlighttv.com.